I'm a night auditor at a motel built in the early 1800s. I knew from the start that it was haunted. The employees would tell me all kinds of creepy stories. Things like balls bouncing, lights flickering, child's laughter. It was the usual typical ghost story that kind of makes you cringe. But one employee told me quite a different story. And when they told me, I really got the chills. Then my first night at the motel began. Alone. And my god, I wasn't ready for this. I'm actually at work right now, alone as usual, and I'm taking a break due to major goosebumps. I constantly feel like I'm being watched around here. Anyway, this girl begins telling me the story of her experience. One duty at the motel is going to the back to the cold walk-in freezer and setting out the frozen dough for the cooks that come in the morning. It's scary back there. It's a huge kitchen with doors off to the side for the freezer, and one is a pantry. Now, the freezer stinks like a trash can. The freezer is cold. In short, the freezer sucks. So she walks into the freezer to grab the bags of dough, and suddenly, the heavy metal freezer door slams shut behind her. She says she was stunned for a minute, just wondering what was going on. So she walks over to the freezer door, and it won't open. Now this is a nightmare scenario coming to fruition. She begins banging on the door trying to get it open. Keep in mind, no one's at the front desk, which means someone could walk in and take the register or steal something. She would lose her job, plus being stuck in a freezer would be pretty bad. So she continues banging on the door, panic mode in full effect at this point. She even showed me where she dented the inside of the freezer door with her fist. Suddenly, she hears what sounds like someone outside the door. She yells out, "Hey, can you open the door, please? It's stuck." And that's when it spoke. In a creepy, lullaby-like voice, over and over again, she hears, "I know you're in there. I know you're in there." Said she was confused and backed away from the door. And suddenly, the door started shaking, like someone was trying to get in with her. She said that at that point she literally started to cry. But after a while, the door stopped shaking. There was silence for a bit, but she was not taking her eyes off that door. At this point, she was scared of the door opening. She'd rather freeze to death than see what's out there. So she gets out her phone, and as soon as she sends a text to her friend to come to the motel, the door opens halfway. She gains enough courage to look out, and nothing is there. She was scared somebody was hiding behind the door, so she begins to walk out slowly and looks behind the door. Still nothing, and walks out into the kitchen. Suddenly, she starts hearing a loud banging behind her, like somebody's hitting on the pots and pans. She doesn't even look, she just bolts for the front desk. Lights even start flickering, but that wasn't slowing her down. She said she was ungodly scared the lights would go out for good. Finally, she made it to the front desk and didn't stop there. She just kept running. She made it outside and stopped in front of the motel and watched the front door as if she was expecting to see someone come walking out of there or come toward the door. She waited outside the motel until her friend made it there. She paid the friend half of her shift money just to stay there with her until relief came. I work for a cell phone company that will remain nameless, but it rhymes with Horizon. Often I have to go out and check some towers if we have problems or for regular maintenance. One of the towers is in the middle of a forest, as in a really creepy, spooky forest. There's a gate with barbed wire around this setup, and you have to enter a code to unlock the gate. We have had problems with people stealing cable and other wiring. Now, one late night, the tower stops responding, and of course it's on me to go check on it. I arrive, and the gate is wide open. The door to the small building is wide open as well. Now, this is not a job for me, so I say, forget this, I'm calling the police. But then I hear a voice. "Help me. Please help me," coming from inside. The hair on my neck starts to stand up, and I'm getting goosebumps everywhere. It sounded like a voice that was almost like a computer-generated type of voice. There was nothing natural about it. I yelled out, "The police are coming. Are you hurt?" But the voice just repeated, "Help me. Help me, please." I got in the company van and called dispatch to tell them what was going on. My coworker says, "Get out of there, now." I start the van and drive off, and I look in my mirror. I see something crawl out of the building and stand up. It must have been about 8 feet tall at least, and growing. I heard this laughter. My hands were shaking so hard. I drove down and went into a Walmart shopping center and told dispatch what I saw. I called the police again and told them where I was. I talked with the police officers and told them what I saw. I then told them about the voice asking for help and how strange it was. The police looked at me and nodded their heads, and then they called up someone else to bring a group to the building. When we got there, the gate was still open, as was the door. The police went in and cleared the small building. When they came out, they showed me claw marks on the wall, and the inside was completely destroyed. My supervisor saw this and told me, "I'm transferring back to Chicago." I work in a nursing home. Weird stuff is always happening here. Alright, well, where to begin? I suppose I should explain that nursing homes in my state have a bed limit, so you can't just have as many residents as you can fit. And the original building was nearly entirely below ground, so when they built a second floor at ground level and moved all the residents up there, the original floor became the basement, and basically a nursing home ghost town, just hall after hall of empty rooms. Now, fairly mundane things happen on the active floor, like call lights going off in empty rooms, faucets and lights going on and off, wheelchairs moving on their own, but all the really messed up stuff happens in the basement. The first thing I ever experienced was when I was in the break room, which is in the basement, of course, eating lunch around 1 a.m., when I hear 3 loud bangs down one of the halls. I figured it was probably some of the crap we keep in storage down there falling over and knocking other stuff over, but I figured I'd better check it out just in case a resident had figured out the door codes and wandered down there. I couldn't find anything out of place. No one responds to me calling out, and I'm about to say screw it and get back to work when I notice someone looking at me through a crack in a door. I almost pissed myself. Then I realized it was a mirror. A lot of times, when people pass without family, or the family is too far away, their stuff just gets donated to us. I found out that that's what this was. This large, antique, ornate mirror, the kind that just stands freely. So I laugh at myself and brush it off and go back to work. It wasn't until later that I told that story to an older coworker, and found out that mirror is notorious for moving around on its own, and that there's no glass in it. I was sure she was just messing with me, so I had to check it out myself. That is, the next day, during the day when at least a little light got down there. It was in the same place, but sure enough, it's just the frame, and the wooden backing where the mirror would have been. I've had more nopes down there, but that's the one that stuck with me the most. The place is in Ohio, pretty much in the woods. Anything else? Well, alright. The CPR practice dummies like to end up in weird places. Washers and dryers will start up at night, despite the door to get them being locked. There's a big pool table that they left down there, and the cues fall off the wall all the time. I've even considered bringing some balls in and setting them up, seeing what happens. Shadow people, Fingers the impatient patient, and a rocking horse that I have never seen not moving at least a little.